And I'm a great example of somebody who got to live his dream. My dad sold vegetables on a corner grocery store, and I got to race in Formula One, a sport that pushes people right out to the edges and to the boundaries of what might be possible. But in Formula One, I went through 3 distinctly different eras. In 1982, my last year there, good was good enough to win. Good teams could win races and win world championships. But then it took a shift at the end of the 90s. It went from good to great. I'm sure lots of you have read the Jim Collins book, Good to Great. But nowadays, to be successful, it took another leap. It went from great to extraordinary. And where does extraordinary live today? It's exacting human performance that operates under pressure in compressed time frames. But when I say that to people, remarkably, they say, well, that's actually a bit like my business, the way it's beginning to go. But what makes this work, what makes this successful, is when you put this model under the umbrella of a certain culture. It's not a culture of winning. It is very much a culture of extraordinary. And this is where it gets really meaty and interesting in my business. Just imagine the teams of people all dressed ready to go into competition. These people live convinced they could be beaten tomorrow. It's part of their DNA. They go to bed at night thinking, if we're not careful, if we're not on the balls of our feet, if we're not alert to everything that's going on around us, we could so easily be beaten tomorrow. These people in these great teams understand the critical performance gains occur at the margins and at the boundaries of people and equipment, right out on those edges, not just of the equipment, but stretching and growing the people in the teams. They disbelieve in the sustainability of their own performance. Can you imagine? It doesn't matter if you won last Sunday. You better disbelieve it's sustainable, or else you become vulnerable. Do you think he told me the truth? And you never build trust faster than taking what you know and sharing it with the people around you to make them better. When you go to these races, it's all about preparation. Do you think it's a coincidence that when I do my television interviews at the front of the grid of the Indy 500, do you think it's a coincidence I inevitably see the best painted, best sponsored, best prepared cars right up the front of the grid? These mechanics know that all the job lists have been taken care of as well, or maybe even better, than everybody they go into competition with. Now, do you think it's a coincidence? When I move to the back of the grid, I no longer see as many immaculately dressed mechanics. I don't see as much sponsorship on the side of the cars anymore to support these teams. And if you look closely, there's a mechanic. He's on his hands and knees. He has tools in his hands. He's actually working on the gearbox on the starting grid of the largest single-day attended sporting event in the world. Because let me ask everybody here a question. As regards to your preparation, or the preparation of the people within your sphere of influence, where do you think you are on the starting grid of the race you are now in every day? Was my engine blew up 2 laps later. Still running out the bottom. The culture of extraordinary umbrella that we looked at earlier, let me add another couple of pieces to that. Just imagine these teams and these people. They are individualistic in their thinking and team players in their actions. Now, can't you imagine these are the guys who are individualistic thinkers who are getting whatever their number is up because they're so creative and innovative, and then they rally around to be team players in their actions. They encourage innovation to create new sources of performance to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of the process. The process. We have had such tight regulations in racing cars in the last 10 years. You can no longer write a check that's blank and buy and build the fastest racing car. They've tightened down the regulations, so the very process of how you race and be successful and how you outthink the competition is what has changed our sport in the last 10 years. And these teams, to be successful, they require a portfolio of leaders, individuals throughout the organization willing and capable to accept responsibility of leadership regardless of the formal authority. You don't have to be told you lead that group of people. You don't need a name tag or a badge or a designation. Here it is here. The great British Jaguar. I drove it at the Le Mans 24-hour race in 1988. This thing was a beast of a car. V12 Jag engine. 248 miles an hour down the straight in this thing. In the daytime. At nighttime, even faster. 250 miles an hour in the dead of night. Well, the television cameras arrived, and my sponsors and my mechanics are back looking at the monitor thinking, what is he doing? The thing was in reverse. So I've given you a bit of a feel for the culture and the hard skills of these great people. Let me just add another little piece. About 5 years ago, I had a book published. I was honored to have Mario Andretti write the foreword for my book. What got you to where you are today will not be good enough to get you where you want to go. Our team managers have a habit of asking people to go beyond their best. And if you make the choice to step over into the extraordinary and add to your giftedness, you can't help personally but get better. A better you makes a better us. Our team managers will tell you this will not be easy. But they'll also tell you we've planned for success. We're simply now going to execute out on the front line. You already trust your people because that's been built. He said now you trust your team to execute. He said you're already surrounded by world-class preparation. That's going to allow you, Mr. Driver, to push a little bit harder on the accelerator. Maybe even sneak it into a higher gear. And if you pull all that together and execute to perfection, the byproduct is it automatically leads you to the victory podium. And my hope for everybody here is that you could follow a similar path. But the last words I want to give everybody, apart from enjoy the rest of the conference, is when you leave this hotel and you walk out the door, I'd love you to make a conscious decision to be extraordinary. Thank you all so much. I'm Derek Daly. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.